Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, Chapter 14, The Tragedy. An episode that, spoiler warning, tragically snatches away from us Grogu and the Razor Crest, but hey, reunites Boba Fett with his armor that doesn't really fit him any better than it did Cobb Vanth, but you know who it would fit? Grogu. He clearly needs it. To be honest, I kinda went crazy with this one. I translated the shit out of Boba Fett's chain code, and it confirmed some big stuff about Jango Fett's history. I found Rogue One Easter eggs in that prisoner registry. That's 2 different alien languages I'm translating for you guys. I figured out stuff about that seeing stone, its runes, even those butterflies. There is a lot. Let us break it down. Okay, here we go. Mando chuckles for the first time ever, I think, playing Force Catch with Grogu's favorite toy, the spherical knob, originally given to him back in Chapter 3, the moment Mando really chose to look after this kid. I have speculated the kid's obsession with it could be connected with something else spherical in the Star Wars universe, like the Death Star, but that seeing stone that he later sits on has a dome shape that, in the closing credits concept art, was originally going to be a sphere that jutted up even more from the ground. So maybe those 2 spheres are connected. Some have also speculated that the knob could be where Moff Gideon's agent planted the tracker on the Razor Crest. There does appear to be a blue part of the knob that I don't remember seeing before, but considering Mando and Grogu had both handled it before the ship was tracked and they are now, I think Mando would have noticed the weight difference. And we visit Tython, which looks like Southern California. It shows up on Mando's display with the region listed as core, telling us this is a core world. Originally, Tython appeared in Legends, but has since been made canon in the Dr. Aphra novels. It is considered one of the possibilities of the whole origin of the Jedi, alongside other places like Ahch-To and Jedha. This seeing stone is located on the hilltop, arranged in a ring with 6 boulders propped up with brace stones. Now, the closing credit concept art rendered this even more Stonehenge-y, definitely an influence here, reflecting the elemental origins of the Jedi that we saw with the tree in the cave on Ahch-To. This seeing stone might even be linked with the stone that Luke sat atop in The Last Jedi, kind of opposite ends of a phone line. The seeing stone is marked with these runes. These are written in the language of Ur-Ktat, aka the Old Tongue. It is the ancient language of the Sith, but it has also been used by both sides of the Force. Like, it showed up in Rebels on the Lothal Jedi Temple, but also the Sith Temple of Malachor, a bunch of other places in animated series and comics and Knights of the Old Republic. Now, unfortunately, these runes are just too worn down and out of focus to decipher literally letter for letter, but I am wondering if it could translate to the Jedi Code. You remember that one? There is no emotion, there is peace, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no passion, there is serenity, there is no chaos, there is harmony, there is no death, there is the Force. Actually, the whispers that Rey heard guiding her to that tree was actually a softly recorded chant of those words. But before I continue, I want to thank Vessi Shoes for sponsoring this video. Vessi makes these knit sneakers that are 100% waterproof. They're breathable, so they don't let any liquid in, but they do let the air move out. They also have this antimicrobial insole to keep your footsies smelling good. Good like Grief Karga on a date good. Also, folks, Vessi shoes are super stretchy. They fit like a sock, and they only weigh 175 grams. It's lighter than some clunky old boots. What are you, a stormtrooper? They're made with this cool Dynamex material that keeps your feet warm in cold weather and cool in warm weather, and it's super easy to clean with just a splash of water or throw them in the washing machine. As we head into the snowy and rainy months, it is really great to have Vesties for running errands around town and keeping my feet dry, warm, and comfy. They really are the perfect leave by the front door shoes that you can wear every day.
Water in my plants, water in my plants. Wait a minute! That's not my plant, that's my shoe! What was I thinking? But you know what? My shoe may be soaking wet, but my feet aren't. My little piggies are bone dry in here, thanks to these Vessi sneakers. Thanks, Vessi. Water in my foot, water in my foot.
And they have an incredible early holiday sale offer right now. Don't procrastinate and wait until the last minute to do your holiday shopping. These are the perfect gift for you and your loved ones, especially for an upcoming rainy season. Get them while they still have sizes and you can thank me later. Check them out in the link below. And if you miss a holiday sale, just use my code NEWROCKSTARS to get $25 off your Vessi shoes. Now, also visible on the surface of the stone are these bluish gray specks. You'll notice they stand out on Mando'a Mando's visor. Maybe just a little sign that this is no ordinary boulder, one that is composed of different sediments with different properties. Let's talk about these butterflies. These actually might be connected to the blue glowing butterflies that Darth Vader saw inside his mind as he meditated in the comic Darth Vader #8. It was a super creepy visual because you see the gnarly way that Vader envisions himself in his mind's eye. But these butterflies represented the goodness that was still in him, and that essence might be what swarms around the stone. It is also possible that these butterflies help activate the beam, because notice they don't appear to be visible after it lights up. And I do love how Grogu touches his fingertips, making the classic meditation gesture. And then after Mando descends the hill to find Boba Fett, notice how behind him, up by that stone, you can see two figures. One presumably the child, but who's the other? Could this be a Force ghost of Master Yoda? Or maybe Luke projecting himself from Ahch-To? Or maybe it's Jean's guy, not clearing the set again. Your 15 minutes are up. Now let's talk about Boba Fett. Slave 1 soars in and lands. It's so freaking exciting to see this iconic ship after the Empire Strikes Back in Attack of the Clones. Boba Fett carries the rifle and gaffy stick carried by the Tusken Raiders, meaning he probably must have lived among them on Tatooine after he escaped the Sarlacc. Now, I'd explain how the Krayt Dragon could have dissolved the Sarlacc, and that one of those two beasts' stomach acid could have given Boba those scars and discoloration. But hopefully this guy will tell us the story of how he clawed the hell out of that thing. Temuera Morrison plays Boba just as he played Boba's clone father, Jango Fett, in Attack of the Clones. He has also since been brought back to re-record Boba Fett's audio for the earlier films. I mean, folks, he really has been the voice of Boba Fett, so it's awesome to see him here. Boba tells Mando,
I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy, like my father before me.
It's a direct callback to Jango in Attack of the Clones.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
But I love how this callback adds on another famous Star Wars like father, like son moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Joining Boba is sharpshooter bounty hunter Fennec Shand, confirming Boba was the mystery man who found Fennec at the end of Chapter 5 last season. Her gut wound has now been cybernetically healed with steampunky abs. Awesome. These two's partnership reminds me a lot of Jango Fett and Zam Wesell in Attack of the Clones. But then stormtroopers arrive in a dropship, but not any dropship. This is the transport we saw the First Order use in The Force Awakens. And along with that Snoke strandcast in the tub, another piece of evidence that Moff Gideon's unit might be connected to the origins of the First Order. It is wild to see Boba Fett take out all these stormtroopers with the gaffy stick, shattering their armor. These sticks have a club end and a pointed end. Now, the actor Morrison is part Maori. His combat style here evokes the swinging of a Polynesian war club. His expressions are very reminiscent of the traditional Maori warrior face. The stormtroopers drag back out the E-Web heavy blaster, as we saw in Chapter 8 last season. Originally, we saw one of these set up on Hoth and Empire. Fennec dislodges a boulder and crushes it with a George Lucas Raiders of the Lost Ark reference. Interesting how when Mando tries to remove Grogu from the Force beacon, it gives and bends a bit before repelling him. It echoes the way lightsabers are evenly matched with Beskar. Like these two forces aren't magnetic polar opposites that stiffly and immediately repel each other, but there's some kind of history, a relationship, a responsive give and take between these forces. I also appreciate the audio filter on Mando's voice when we hear it from inside the field.
Hey, snap out of it, kid. We gotta get out of here.
It's not dubbed in the way that you hear a voice from underwater when it's coming from the surface, but it's distorted in this way as if it's coming through an electronic medium.
La la la, Luke. Luke, I am your father.
Now, Boba Fett spots his armor inside the Razor Crest and straps himself back in. And notice how he deploys his knee darts, something the visual dictionary told us he had, but I don't think we've ever seen them deployed on screen before. And then he uses his rocket to take out both transports, but we don't get too long to celebrate. R.I.P. Razor Crest. Clearly, this season has been foreshadowing its destruction. It's just been falling in rougher and rougher shape. The blast came from that Arquitens class light cruiser, the same kind of ship that we've seen in the animated series. This one is the Imperial one, commanded by Moff Gideon, which you saw at the end of episode 4, and he deploys the Dark Troopers that we saw at the end of that episode. Now, originally, these were introduced in the Dark Forces game. These particular ones look like kind of a cross between the Phase 2 and Phase 3 Dark Troopers. I love how the cruiser looms into view from the clouds. and you can first see it in the form of that shadow on Boba's helmet. He realizes that the Empire is back.
This isn't a spice dream.
Of course, spice, the word for drugs in the Star Wars universe, one of the many details George Lucas lifted from Frank Herbert's Dune. Now, the knob and Beskar's spear are the only salvageable items from the Razor Crest wreckage, and then Boba confirms his backstory.
My chain code has been encoded in this armor for 25 years. You see, this is me, Boba Fett. This is my father, Jango Fett.
Your father was a foundling.
Yes. He even fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars.
Okay, lots to unpack here. This language is Mando'a. It is the written form of the Mandalorian language. It actually first appeared on Slave 1 in Attack of the Clones, and I have taken the time to translate it for you. Now, on the far right is Boba and Fett, his name added on to the end of this. But if you go over to the far left, it reads, Foundling, took into the year the Concord Dawn, mentor Jaster, father Fett. Now, the H's do look more like English lowercase h's than they do the Mando'a h's, but everything else lines up. I'm pretty sure this is what it says. And I love it. This is how Mando can confirm Boba's lineage and Jango's confirmed Mandalorian foundling past. This all comes from a Jango Fett origin comic, which wasn't until now considered to be canon because Clone Wars Season 2 cast Jango's origin in doubt with the line from Almec.
Jango Fett was a common bounty hunter. How he acquired that armor is beyond me.
And at the time, George Lucas and even Dave Filoni seemed pretty clear their intent was that Jango Fett would not be a true Mandalorian.
So the idea that Jango Fett is not a Mandalorian, that's something that comes directly from George.
But now it looks like Filoni is apparently backpedaling a bit. Either way, we can definitely interpret Almec's line as a snob prime planet Mandalorian thumbing his nose at Mandalorians from other planets and moons in the system. Because Concord Dawn was Jango's home world, it's also in the Mandalore system. Jaster refers to Jaster Muriel, another Mandalorian who was on the run, exiled from Concord Dawn actually. He was pursued by members of the Death Watch, who ended up killing Jango's parents for sheltering Jaster. Jaster ended up taking Jango under his wing, training him in a separate rival Mandalorian clan to the Watch, a group calling themselves the True Mandalorians. Meanwhile, the Watch was the group that eventually found Din Djarin and took him in as a foundling. So Boba Fett and Din Djarin end up hailing from rival Mandalorian clans. But as Mando learned from Bo-Katan earlier this season, the old divisions within Mandalorians don't really matter after the Purge. There really aren't enough Mandalorians left for them to turn against each other. Meanwhile, the Mandalorian Civil War that Boba referred to took place prior to the Phantom Menace. The Mandalorians at the time were divided over whether to be pacifists or militaristic like their ancestors. House Vizsla led the whole warrior side of that debate. They ended up losing the Civil War. They were banished to the moon of Concordia, where the Death Watch was founded. And by the way, during this time, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn were stationed on Mandalore to protect the true Mandalorian heir, Duchess Satine, which is when that younger Obi-Wan did fall in love with her. So they end up taking Slave 1 back to Navarro, where Mando learns Cara Dune's badge from that X-Wing captain makes her an official Marshal of the New Republic. Her prisoner registry is filled with Aurebesh rap sheets, and you know, I have you covered. Let's break them down. First, we got Vorg Alsum, and then Skirto Tobbs, then Torbil Danzin. I'm not sure yet, but I would not be surprised if a lot of these guys are just crew and or friends of the series. Then Nylox Cabin Roves, then Pretz Relato, who I might be crazy. To me, this guy looks a lot like Andrew Ray from Binging with Babbage, who just did an episode with Jon Favreau to make those blue cookies. I love his channel. I want to meet to him. That sounded gross. Anyway, Gaprin Dozito is up next. This same droid race was the bandit from Chapter 9 and the dude who yelled at Rey in The Force Awakens, and he does have a gap grin. Then we got Biran Redbin. He tried to snatch Grogu on Tatooine. Then Abrak Kethuni. Then a Nikto named Imduelo D. He might be the Nikto on Tatooine, or maybe one of the Niktos who is guarding him on Arvala 7 in Chapter 1. Next, there is a Mon Calamari named Hosla Fular, then a Zabrak named Theen Cross, then a Quarren named Yath Ndidi. This little nightmare is named Sart Julas, then a Aqualish, the same race as Pandavaba and the others Cara Dune just took out, named Unga Toba, and then Cheekbones here is named Sethro Dagri, and then Bor Corbin Todds. Now, the last bunch are shown much closer so you can see their crimes and locations. There's Torbil Danzin, that's a Tusken Raider who is held at Sunspot Prison for attempted kidnapping of a senator. Interesting. Then Cardo Deeves is in Wobani Penitentiary. You should recognize that. That's the prison Jyn Erso started in Rogue One. Wobani, an anagram for Obi-Wan. That, by the way, was an Imperial prison, so I guess now it's a New Republic operation. Cardo is being held for assault of a New Republic officer. Next, there's a Gamorrean named Chargut Low held on Garen 4 for aggravated assault. And then lastly, the return of Bill Burr as Miggs Mayfeld from Chapter 6 last season, imprisoned on the Carthon Chop Fields, probably where we are headed next episode as Mando busts him free. He needs him to track down Moff Gideon, probably because Mayfeld used to be an Imperial. And the next screen shows that Miggs is charged with facilitating the escape of a prisoner and accessory to the death of a New Republic officer. We saw all of that go down in Chapter 6 last season, and it came back up with those New Republic pilots in Chapter 9. Moff Gideon leaves the bridge of his cruiser as it blasts through hyperspace to the brig where Grogu is kept. He thrashes around those stormtroopers and force chokes one. Another example of a force choke. It's more commonly a dark side use of the force, though. Remember, Luke did force choke those Gamorrean guards at Jabba's palace. Moff Gideon is thrilled to see this proof that Grogu is very force sensitive, because it is a confirmation that he is a viable donor for Dr. Pershing and all their strand cast genetic experiments. And then he shows off the Darksaber. What a dick. Since Grogu was trained in the Jedi Temple, he would have used training sabers, but the crystals powering those are much weaker. The blades don't really cut through anything. And then poor Grogu gets stunned, that same blue polygon visual that was used to stun Leia in the first film, and his adorable little cuffs emit this blue glow, which might be connected to the Rey shield that inhibited Obi-Wan's use of the Force when Dooku captured him. Now, the last detail I will leave you with is that little moment when the Darksaber retracts.
Liable to put an eye out for one of these.
Now notice how the Darksaber doesn't give off quite the same hum and zip that other sabers do. Its retraction is less of a zzz than a it's like the saber is alive, which is ironic because it is ancient. It might be the oldest lightsaber in existence. And maybe it's just that it is now the holiday season, but it is not a good idea for Gideon to say you'll put an eye out with this thing. One of Jon Favreau's best friends is Peter Billingsley, aka Box of Scraps William Ginter Riva in the MCU, because Favreau let him cameo in Iron Man. This guy is grown-up Ralphie from A Christmas Story, folks. The kid who famously was warned, you'll shoot your eye out, with his favorite toy weapon that faithfully does just that. And the way Moff Gideon now toys with this thing like a freaking Red Ryder air rifle, I'm calling it now. He is gonna poke his eye out with that Darksaber, or Grogu will do it for him. We do know that Giancarlo Esposito loves his freaky violent ends. By the way, we still have tons of great Mandalorian apparel options available for purchase at our merch store, NewRockstarsMerch.com. I think we got a few This Is the Way red or white options left, but we also have this awesome Grogu mugshot shirt, a ton of other lovely designs. They're all great holiday gift options, folks, but we have learned that the various shipping services cannot guarantee a Christmas delivery this year for, obvious reasons. So you really gotta jump on this now, before Monday the 7th at the latest. So hopefully everything can get to you and your loved ones in time. Subscribe to New Rockstars, hit that notification button, follow me on Instagram at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars. Thank you for watching. I have spoken.